Hey everybody, welcome back to Yankey Rants. Thank you so much for coming by. Today's topic, I'm going to be ranting about a living wage. As many of you are already aware, there is a huge wage gap in our country. The middle class is disappearing. It is becoming impossible to make it anymore on what most jobs pay. Now, I'm just going to, for example, use my specific area for an example. I'm a working person. I'm an entertainer, but I don't make money at a level that supports that. So I also have a job. And let me just tell you about the job market in a 50-mile radius from my house. You have 3 Walmarts, about 3 or 4 factories, but they're small factories. They're not large factories. The best of these I've been trying to get on since they opened about 3 years ago. They built a location here, and they have great benefits, but they only have about 20 employees because their entire factory is almost fully automated. The other 2 factories are small too. They have about 30 to 50 employees, and they're hard to get on at. The rest of the places are gas stations and retail, small retail. Most of the work I do to support my comedy and my writing and now my activism and journalism is fast food, or a Walmart type of job, a stock type job overnight or something like that. Those kind of things. And people seem to be hung up on that. You hear a lot in the debate over living wage and over raising the minimum wage, and whenever you bring up the fight for 15, you hear a lot about these people are burger flippers. What about these ambulance drivers that have real skill? Or what about this welder who has a real skill? Or this construction worker, steel worker, iron worker, whatever? What about these people with real skills that deserve to make, $15, $20 an hour? And you got this burger flipper or this Walmart guy in a blue vest who feels like he deserves to make what I make? Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is you are selling yourself short now. Because if the burger flipper, as you like to call them, which a lot of times is me, I had this exact same argument with my brother. Me and my brother no longer speak to each other anymore because he owns a chain of daycares. Like 3 or 4 daycares. They're small daycares though. So a daycare with about 10 to 15 kids. And each daycare has about 3 or 4 women, or, he says he mostly hires women. So women that work for him. Now, my brother was talking to me. I was posting things during the election. I post things all the time about different issues. And this particular post that triggered my brother was about Fight for 15. Now, he first started trolling my post, telling me that I was stupid and that's unrealistic. But when he realized that my post is not a safe space for that kind of speech, he decided to start attacking me private message. And then it really got nasty. It got nasty. Now, me and my brother are both bullheaded. We get that from my mother and my father. And we get that from our upbringing. So we've stopped talking before. The last time that it ever happened, it was over an argument over who was the better boxer, Roy Jones Jr. or Muhammad Ali. We didn't talk for 6 months after that. But that's the way we are. We're both passionate people. We got over that. I don't know that we'll ever get over this because it got extremely personal. Because he's using the burger flipper shit and how he also works a job. This is my second point. I'm a comedian, entertainer, writer, and now I'm a journalist, activist, and entertainer on YouTube. The last 3 things, those just started. I haven't started generating money from that. But the other comedy and writing I do, small. I haven't been published as a writer. I have a lot of writing, but the thing with that is I haven't ever sent any of it in. Kind of like Stephen King with I need a Tabitha King who's going to take my carry out of the trash and send it into the publisher. Wink, wink. Babies, you're going to have to send in some of my shit. I'll never do it myself. I love to write, but I don't believe in it enough. But my comedy, I make money doing that. So, every once in a while I'll book a gig. So, not enough to live on, so I still have to work. I still have to work a job. So I pay child support. Let's factor that in. A lot of men do. I work 40 hours a week at my job, but they take half of my check, okay? So I'm left with half of a minimum wage job check, which we all know is around $180 to $200, okay? Is it even that much? No, 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 no. I'm sorry. I went too high. I went too high. I was thinking about a different job. We'll go with my last job. I was paid weekly. My checks averaged between $90 to $150 was the most ever. Usually somewhere in the $115 range was what I would get to take home. Now that's after it had been cut in half in tax for my child support and taxes. So I get to take home $115 for 40 hours of work. How in the literal fuck could anyone live on that? If it wasn't for my babos also having a job, I would be living in my car with a 40-hour-a-week job. Now, I sometimes have to sleep in my car doing comedy. That's just the level I'm at. And hopefully one day I'm at a higher level, and maybe now that I've changed to be a political comic instead of a bullshit, funny guy comic that just talks about silly things, and now I'm going to have a real voice, and I've got my YouTube channel, and I'm going to do the activism. I'll have a bigger name. Maybe I'll start to catch on and get more work as a comic. I'm not going to stop doing comedy because I now am a journalist in the independent journalism area, and I'm not going to stop doing comedy because now I'm going to be an activist. It just means that I'm going to use my voice and my love to sit and ramble and talk to help the progressive movement move forward and actually progress. Help us make progress to fix the world. And one of the things that we need to unite and fix is this living wage issue. So, as I said, here I am. I'm working 40 hours a week. I do comedy as often as I can get hired to do it. I don't make a lot to do it, but as often as I can get on a mic in front of a room and get paid to make people laugh, I take the gig. So working a side job as well as 40 hours a week, I could not live on my own. If it wasn't for the help that I get through the support from my babos, if she wasn't here to help me, I would basically be living in a box or a van down by the river, as Chris Farley would say. So you see, I have very limited options. I've been neutered by the system, and honestly, we'll touch on this in another video, but 50% is way too much of someone's check to take. You cannot live on 50% of a decent paycheck. Now, you may be part of the group, the Mitch McConnell group or the Paul Ryan group that thinks that I didn't try hard enough in life. And even though I am working 40 hours a week and a side job, it's my fault that those don't pay enough because I should have done more to be more successful. I'm reasonably intelligent. I wasted my opportunities. To an extent, you're right. In a literal sense, like if we're going to think about life as a robot, you're right. But in a human rights sense, I had different passions than that. I know I'm reasonably intelligent, but I use my intelligence for wit. I followed my dream, just as you followed yours to be in politics and be a bullshit artist. Now, you achieved your dream to a level I haven't achieved yet, but I am only 41 years old. So one day I may be rich and famous doing comedy, and then now who's the jackass? When Jim Carrey was living out of his car, he was stupid for following his dream. But when he was making $20 million a film, people are like, oh my God, how'd you do it, Jim? Well, the way he did it was he lived out of his fucking car. And he never stopped following his dream. So I'm not ashamed. So when I'm arguing with my brother over this, I'm like, Ryan. So when I'm arguing with my brother over this, I'm like, hey, I'm a burger flipper. I make fries. I'm one of those people that you're talking about. And he's like, well, you know what, man, if I had to pay my employees, and at this time we were only talking about $12 an hour. He's like, if I had to pay my employees $12 an hour, I would have to close up shop. And I said that if your business depends on poverty wages to survive, then you shouldn't have a business. And he lost his shit. He said things to me. I have a pretty good vocabulary of cuss words and insults, and I hadn't heard most of these. I don't think we'll ever speak again. But I'll say it again. If you have a business like my brother's and you depend on paying people poverty wages to keep that business operational, you don't deserve to have it. And you maybe only need to have 2 daycare locations that you and your wife can run together. And you might have to pay one person to help you at each place, but you're going to have to pay them $15 an hour. And the reason for that is that's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for a couple of reasons. Let's talk about reason A. Here I am. I'm a person that works 40 hours a week. And I would like to have some ding-dongs and a chocolate milk right now. Thing is, though, I don't have the money for that. So I can't walk down to the store and buy those things, which means the little store by my house just lost out on about $5 from me because I don't have disposable income. Now that means that they can't hire a new girl to work a few hours on Saturday so she can afford to buy a car to go to school. You see how it's a chain fucking reaction? Now if I made $15 an hour, I'd be eating a ding dong and a chocolate milk right after filming this video. They'd have $5 extra in their cash register at the store and be able to hire that employee that maybe she can get her first job and save for a car to go to college and help improve her life. Now, college is something else we'll get into in a later video. It has a lot to do with the ability to make a living wage in this country as well. For now, we'll just talk about living wage by itself. So I just explained why it's important to pay somebody a living wage, why in a capitalist society it is important that your citizens can afford to buy goods and participate in that capitalist society. Being how the American dream is to be able to start your own business. Like, I always wanted to make a place where I sell hamburgers and fix vacuum cleaners. That's been my dream since I was a kid. I had a Kirby and I took it apart, put it back together 50,000 times. And I thought one day I'm gonna fry a badass hamburger while I'm fixing somebody's vacuum cleaner. If that's your dream, you come to America to make that dream happen, correct? Well, how in the fuck are you gonna make that dream happen? Starting out on slave wages. You say I'm that guy, and I'm over in Sweden, and I'm like, man, I'm amazing with this fucking Swiss Army knife, and I fix vacuums like a bitch. And I'm telling you, I'm amazing with this Swiss Army knife, and I fix vacuum cleaners like. And you're over there like, I'm amazing with this Swiss Army knife. I can take apart a vacuum cleaner in 35 seconds. And I can make most repairs before it's even time to flip your burger. And I make a badass hamburger. So what do? You come to America to live your dream. But when you get here, you find out that the only job you can get is at White Castle. And it only pays $10 an hour. White Castle pays good for fast food, so we'll use White Castle. But you're still a burger flipper and you make fries, so you're still a piece of shit in most people's eyes. You don't deserve to make $10 even, probably. Those people watching this video, and you know the type with the Make America Great hat on and the rebel flag in their rear view, on their backup. You know the type I mean. The kind with the Make America Great hat on and the rebel flag tattoo. These are the type that'll tell you, man, you should do construction like I do. If you fucking weren't lazy, you could fucking be a roofer like me and you would make $20 an hour. Well, you know what? Some people have reasons they can't be a roofer outside of being lazy. Like myself, I happen to have a bad back and a problem with asthma. I also can't do extreme physical labor. I had a job once in a warehouse, and I actually enjoyed it. They tried to work you to death, though. They tried to kill you. I won't name the company, but their colors are black and yellow, and they think that they're the general of dollars, and they think they're. I did name the company. Oh well, fuck them. That place is a bad place to work, and I'm gonna tell you why. We'll just call them DG from here on out. So they pay you a decent wage. I was making 11 and a half about to work overnight in a warehouse, loading trucks. But for that 11 and a half hour, but for that 11 and a half dollars an hour, they expected you to work your ass off. When I started there, I weighed 280 pounds. At 3 months in, I had to quit due to a breathing problem, and I had lost 50 pounds. They try to kill you in that place. They really do, and they don't care about turnover. I got hired with about 20 people, and by the time I had to quit, 3 months in, there were only And by the time I had to quit 3 months in, there were only 4 of us left out of the group of 20 that I started with. And I watched them drop like flies. And they push you like boot camp. They really do treat people like shit at that place. Do not shop there. Seriously, boycott it. I'm telling you, at the warehouse level, they treat you like shit. They seriously have employees that their whole job is to walk around with a walkie-talkie and be mean to you when you're working too slow. To stand there and berate you. I watch them because they'll try to break you, make you quit. Because they don't give a fuck if they're doing orientation every day. Every day they'd be walking a new group through the building. Because they want you to quit. Matter of fact, a lot of the guys I would talk to on break sometimes have been fired multiple times, but kept coming back. They treat you like shit there. And they aren't the general of anything dollar-wise. They shop at the Tree Made of Dollars or, a different place. Make your own merchandise. Don't go there. Fuck Dollar General. They treat their store employees like shit as well. That's why when you go in there, it all looks like shit and you can't find anything and nothing's put away and everything's on carts. Because they only allow them that many hours to do all that work. And they have to check everyone out in the store and put away all the product. That's why you're always waiting in line for about 30 minutes at Dollar General. So stop feeling like it's that girl's fault that's just working her ass off to feed her children and making about $9 an hour tops at the store level. That's one of the things they used to tell us at the warehouse when they took us over there. That now we're going over to the store, so you don't tell them what you make. Because if you do, then while you're there, we're going to pay you what they make. Because they made about $2 an hour less than us. They worked just as hard. They had to unload all the carts we made, plus ring out all the customers. So they had to be nice and work hard. They had to do more than I did. I just had to work to the level where I thought I was going to pass out sometimes. I'm serious. They'd work you so hard. Like they had these people that would push you, like I just said. They'd work you so hard, I got home some days, and I would be shaking in the shower, like Rocky in the beginning of Rocky fucking 5, after he fought Drago. I woke up one day, I had a coughing fit so bad that I had busted blood vessels all through here, and I couldn't breathe for about 5 to 10 seconds. I thought I was going to die. Before I had to quit that job. They tried to kill me. And then when I had a coughing fit that was so bad I couldn't stop coughing for as much as 10 minutes and I had to go to my supervisor, they drove me out of the building in a golf cart like I was trash. And I busted my ass there. Like I said, I lost 50 pounds while I was working there. So don't tell me it's about working hard. What it's about is human value. Like I'm saying, Dollar General cannot load a truck without a person like me loading that fucking truck. One day they'll figure out how to get a robot to do it, but I don't imagine they want to pay what it would cost to have a robot do that. They already have everything automated in that building that you could possibly automate. You should have seen it. It looked like a serpentine of belts and these machines and sensors that would divide it all into, different rows and send it down to each guy to load his truck. It was amazing looking. I would stand there in awe and look at it. So everything in the building that can be automated was automated. It was like 5 stories high of this serpentine level of belts that would electronically separate all the packages to where they need to go, and then down to a guy who actually loads the truck. So they already got rid of as many jobs as they can inside the Dollar General warehouse. So maybe one day they will invent a machine or a robot that sorts all those things coming down those belts to load the truck and pick out and choose. They like to cram as much as they can in that truck. Maybe then one day they'll invent something that does it. Hell, there's a machine I saw while I was there that takes pallets full of stuff, like a pallet full of boxes, and picks it up, puts it on shelves, and does that all day on its own, up 5 levels. So yeah, there's a lot of cool robots, but and eventually they say, you got Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates saying that eventually robots are going to take all jobs. That eventually we will be obsolete. Human labor will be obsolete. There will be no need for it. Mark Zuckerberg is calling for a standard minimum wage, like not a minimum. Mark Zuckerberg even called recently at an event for a standard wage for everyone, and I forget what it's exactly called. I should have known that, and now it's kind of embarrassing. But what it is a basic income. I think that's what it is called, basic income. So everybody would make a certain amount of money, not for working, just as like a government paid stipend. And that's to live on, because you don't have jobs anymore. Robots have taken them all. But anyways, the rest of what I was saying about that person who thinks the burger flipper doesn't deserve to make what the welder makes, you don't understand how things work, do you? So the welder, let's say at Dollar General, over top of minimum wage, we made so much based on how hard they thought that job was. So things base off the bottom, minimum wage. So I made 11 something an hour because they figured I worked that much harder than what they figure minimum wage is worth. Now, if minimum wage is 15, then my pay there would probably be around $17.50 to $18 an hour. Do you understand now how this works and making more sense? So if you're a welder that makes 12 and the McDonald's guy gets 15, you don't stay at 12. Your job has got to compete with McDonald's now. Otherwise, you'd go fucking work at McDonald's now, wouldn't you? And become a burger flipper yourself just to make an extra $3 an hour. So your job's going to match that at least, and most likely go above it. So now the burger flipper makes $7.15 and you make 18. The ambulance guy makes 20. The welder, the high skill guy makes 35 instead of 30. You understand? Things go up, not down. You don't stay the same. It's not fucking pie or cake. If I get a bigger slice, it doesn't mean you get less of a slice. Is that making sense? Does that make sense to you? If the burger flipper gets an extra $5 an hour, you are also going to get an extra $5 an hour, because your company is going to now have to compete with the burger flipper's company, or everybody's going to want to go and be a burger flipper. No one's going to want to be a welder, because welding sucks, doesn't it? You burn holes in your shirt. It's hot all day. My friend was a welder. Well, sometimes he'd have to soak his eyes with a potato because he'd have little blisters all over his eyeballs. You'd go flip burgers too, being how it's so fucking easy and such a lazy person's job, right? Or you'd stock shelves at Walmart, being how that's for lazy people too, right? Because they make 15 an hour. Why would you be a welder and burn your eyes? No, you're going to make 20 to 18 to 20. That's how this fucking works. You don't get less pie because I get more pie. You get more pie. We all get more pie. Look, the top has all the fucking pie. They got a fucking pie factory, and they're throwing you crumbs. And some of us get littler crumbs than others. And you want to stare at those little people crumbs because they're looking at yours. And you got a bigger crumb. Yours even has a little peach on it, and you're nibbling on it. And they're looking at yours because all they got is a couple little breadcrumbs off the side. And you're like, you better get your own fucking peach crumb. Instead of going, why in the fuck do they have so much peach pie up there? How about we get together and go get some of that pie? You see, it makes perfect sense to me. It's so simple to me. It's the right thing to do. It's the morally right thing to do. We need to fight for a living wage. It needs to be at least $15 an hour minimum wage, but quite frankly, it needs to be more than that. It needs to be in some way matched to the cost of, it needs to be in some way matched 15 base and then a match to the cost of living. So like say for example in New York, the poverty line in New York, if you want to live and be able to support yourself, I think you need to make over about 100 grand in New York. That sounds crazy, right? You can't do that on 15. So it would have to be 20, maybe. You got to pay McDonald's employees 20. Or maybe you don't have as many fucking McDonald's. Something's got to happen. You got to adapt. That's the way capitalism works. So don't tell me we have to stranglehold society in order to help these companies succeed and thrive. If they can't succeed and thrive, don't they need to die in a capitalist environment? And then another company needs to swoop in and go, we make hamburgers too, and we can pay people a living wage and do all of that because we run business better, and our CEO doesn't need to make $100 million bonuses a year. We'll pay our people more and fuck the CEO. So thank you guys. This has been Yankey Rants. We're going to try to get a little better each time. I hope you like this. Share it to get the message out about a living wage. If you can, donate and support this channel through my Patreon to help more videos and to help me be able to go places. I'd like to go to Flint and get in Rick Snyder's face and help them put him in prison. I want to do things like that. I'm down to get arrested for you. Thanks again for watching. Click like, share, subscribe. See you next time.